Welcome to Chapter 10 of Advertising Promotional Management. This is Sean Canary, your professor. This week in Chapter 10 in your McGraw-Hill ebook, we talk about media planning and strategy. So, just to go over the assignment that's due this week, this is a Chapter 10 quiz. But let's talk about Chapter 10, media planning and strategy. There is a tremendous amount of activities involved in developing a media plan, but typically it starts off by creating a situational analysis. Then the plan strategy happens with setting media objectives. Now these media objectives should reflect your business objectives, determining the media strategy, selecting the broad media classes that you'll use, and then selecting the media within that class. Some of these decisions include whether to use broadcast, print, or other media such as the internet. Then after you've created all these steps, you go ahead and create the creative strategy plan. Now let's dive deeper into developing the media plan and the market analysis. When you're choosing the market where your business is located in, it's always important to do an analysis of your competitors as well as the industry itself. That way you can get a better expectation for a couple of things: who you're competing with, the budget, as well as the opportunities that the other advertisers are taking advantage of. Next, we want to establish the media objectives. Now, these should be reflective of your business objectives. So if it's a communications-based objective, make sure it's reflective of this. If it's a sales-based objective, make sure that your media plan reflects this. What do I mean by that? Well, it's important to establish KPIs, key performance indicators, that are reflective of these objectives. After establishing these objectives, you want to create the media strategy development and implement it. Afterwards, you're going to evaluate based on those KPIs that you established in step 2, and then follow up by changing or continuing the plan. Target market identification. This happens when primary research or secondary sources help determine which specific groups to target. Obviously, you have a group of different segments that you can target. It's important that you choose the right one. Now, one of the tools that we use to determine this is called index number. This is a good indication of the potential of the market. Why? Because it represents an equation of the percentage of users in a demographic segment divided by the percentage of the population in that same segment. Now this gives us a good idea of how great of a potential this market could be. When we do this calculation for all of our segments, the segment with the best index numbers usually is the one that we would target. Now it's important to know that there are some internal and external factors that could influence your media strategy. Some of the internal factors could be the size of your media budget, managerial and administrative capabilities, as well as the organization of the agency. Now, these internal factors can help determine which strategy you should take. If you have a smaller budget, TV is probably out. Internet advertising and print advertising are your best bet. Managerial and administrative capabilities. If your firm does not have the capabilities to produce a specific media ad, you shouldn't undertake it. Some external factors that could affect your strategy are the rising cost of media. With TV becoming so fragmented with Hulu and Netflix and cable and all these external choices, you would think that the cost of ads would go down. However, the opposite has happened. TV ads have gone up. Changes in technology has opened different channels for consumers. Social media advertising, in fact, is one of the most profitable ways to advertise your business. And then there's also competitive factors. This comes out during your situational analysis. How much are your competitors paying for advertising? Can you compete with that? So these are some internal and external factors that influence social media strategies. So next, let's talk about the criteria considered in the development of media plans, and we'll run through each one of these individually. The media mix. This adds more versatility to the media strategies. It increases coverage, reach, and frequency levels, and improves the likelihood of achieving overall communications and marketing goals. Target market coverage. This matches the most appropriate media to the market. The goal of this is to extend media coverage to members of the target audience while minimizing waste coverage. And waste coverage is media coverage that reaches people who are not potential buyers or users. Think about this. Think about billboard advertising. Let's say you're an advertiser, you're a company, and you buy a billboard. Hundreds of thousands of people may drive past your billboard, but is really every one of them a potential customer? There's a lot of waste in those billboard ads, similar to TV advertising. So if you take a look at the possible coverage possibilities, these diagrams will show you illustrations of full market coverage, partial market coverage, and coverage exceeding target market. Scheduling is something else that you need to keep in mind. Timing promotional efforts such that they coincide with the highest potential buying times is important. Now there's a couple different methods that we can use to do this. Continuity. These are regular pattern of advertising without gaps or non-advertising periods. Flighting ads. This involves intermittent periods of advertising and non-advertising. And then pulsing. This maintains continuity, but promotional efforts are stepped up at times. For instance, K Jewelers uses a pulsing scheduling time. They constantly maintain advertising, but promotional efforts are stepped up around holidays. Some advantage and different disadvantages with these scheduling methods. Continuity. Some advantages are as it serves as a constant reminder to the consumer, and it covers the entire buying cycle. It also allows for media priorities. Some disadvantages, though, it has a higher cost because it's running all the time. And it has a potential for overexposure and waste. And it has limited media allocation. Flighting scheduling. Advantages. It's very cost efficient of advertising only during your purchase cycles. It allows for more than one medium or vehicle with limited budgets. But its disadvantages are waiting may offer more exposure and advantage over competitors. There's an increased likelihood of wear out, a lack of awareness, interest, and retention of promotional messages, and a vulnerability to competitive efforts during non-scheduled periods. And then finally, the pulsing scheduling method has all the advantages of continuity and flighting, but its disadvantage is it's not required for seasonal products, because obviously seasonal products only are advertised during that season. Effective reach represents the percentage of audience reached at each effective frequency increment, and it's based on an assumption that one exposure to an ad may not be enough to convey the desired message. In fact, researchers say that it takes from 6 to 9 exposures of a message for a consumer to react positively or negatively to it. Now, this has a lot to do on how well known your brand name is. For instance, the Lake Erie Crushers minor league baseball team. They're not a very well-known brand, so it's going to take a larger percentage of frequency to get their message through than, say, the Cleveland Indians, who have a more well-established brand. Factors important in determining frequency levels? Of course, we talked about that. Brand history, brand share, good example of the Crushers versus the Indians, right? Indians have to try less, but the Crushers need to try more. They have to increase their frequency. Purchase cycles, usage cycles, competitive share of voice in the target group are all factors that affect this. Message factors, how complex your message is, how complex your product is, right? Image versus product sell, wear out, and message variation. Some media factors, clutter from other advertisers, editorial environment, attentiveness, scheduling, and a number of media used. Recency planning focuses on short interval reach at minimum frequency levels as close to the purchase decision as possible. It has continuous schedule over a 1 week period, and it targets less to gain exposure to reach as many potential consumers as possible. Creative aspects and mood. Some important things to keep in mind with creative aspects is effective implementation of creativity requires the appropriate medium. For instance, when we're taking into consideration our messaging, we need to take into consideration the technical capabilities of each medium. There's a lot of things that we can do with dynamic ads with internet marketing as opposed to TV marketing. Our mood, the appropriate media should be used to create a mood that enhances the creativity of the message itself. Flexibility helps in dealing with market opportunities, threats, availability immediate, changes in media or media vehicles. That's why internet marketing is one of the most common and best ways to advertise because of its flexibility. And then finally, one of the most important factors before choosing your media strategy and media channel is the budget considerations. Well, it's important to consider that absolute cost is the actual total cost required to place the message. This includes the production of stuff and the production of media equipment, the production of the TV commercials, your actors, everything going into place. Relative cost is the relationship between price paid for advertising time or space and the size of the audience delivered. And it's used to compare media vehicles. So that is chapter 10. So make sure that you finish reading the chapter 10 in your McGraw-Hill portal and then head over and take the chapter 10 quiz. Good luck and have a great week.